The Princess and the Demon. A few years after Ramesses II's great battle at Kadesh, Egypt was secure, strong, and above all, huge. It covered all of North Africa, right the way to the Levant, and round to almost Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq. All of those countries were under the domain of the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses. With his country secure, he began an occasional tour to collect tribute from his domain. At one particular day, he ended up just outside what we now call Babylon, and a local prince of Bekten was one of the many to offer various gold, jewels, and exquisite goods in tribute to Pharaoh for his protection, for their protection. Well, particularly this particular prince of Bekten, as well as presenting all the usual wealth, presented his eldest daughter. Now, she was absolutely beautiful and was presented as the most precious thing within his kingdom. Obviously, Ramesses was quite a man. We all know of his extensive harem and his numerous wives, and of course, instantly, he was drawn to her, yet another one to add. And he took her as his wife and renamed her Neferu Ra, the beauty of Ra. And she returned with him back to Egypt. A few years went on, and a messenger appeared from her father, the Prince of Bekten, begging for Pharaoh's assistance. It was from his other daughter, Benshret, her sister, and the story and tale of her sudden illness was heartbreaking. Neferu Ra was in tears and totally distraught at the news that her sister was bedridden, consumed by an evil sickness that was beyond all of the Prince of Bekten's medical and spiritual solutions. And the prince begged Pharaoh to lend some assistance as his pledge of protection on their city and their country. Of course, Ramesses was aware that, he had to do this. This was the part of why he was in control. And of course, with Neferu Ra's tears and distraught situation, he did feel sorry for her and vowed, I will do what I can to assist. And in this, he went to the temple of Khonsu at Karnak. Khonsu, the god of the moon, the god of the dark, the god of the secret places. His knowledge of the hidden arts of magic were let's say Isis learned all she could from him. He was the place to go for the hidden dark arts. He approached the temple and the shrine of Khonsu, and as Pharaoh, the divine god Horus on earth, as an equal to Khonsu, commanded the spirit of Khonsu to enter the small travelling statue of Khonsu that is usually paraded around the villages for any festivals for him. Being of equal, Khonsu obliged and imbued the statue with his divine power. Now, Pharaoh could not believe, so he sent one of his best physicians and magicians with the statue and Nefer Ra back to Begtren to see her sister and present the statue. Of course, the appearance of an emissary of Pharaoh with what was perceived to be a divine deity in his presence was the talk of the city, and the prince was utterly let's see, what would be a good word? Well, he was very grateful. That's probably an understatement. And of course, the physician, the magician, presented the statue to the bedside of Bentreset, who was quite clearly almost comatose and deathly pale. Now, a curious thing occurred. When the statue was in her presence, a great light formed around the statue, and the spirit of Khonsu presented itself before the court, all those present. Great awe to be in the presence of a divine being of such power. The spirit of Khonsu looked at the body of Bentreset and said, "I see you, demon. I see you, be gone." Immediately a dark shadow left her body and her skin returned to a normal colour. The stark spirit hovered around, confused and agitated at the presence and the command of this deity. It formed and spoke. "Great Khonsu, this city is yours. I bow to you and I shall be gone. But I will only leave if this city has this day every year in recognition of your power over me." Now, of course, those present were a little bit alarmed that such a thing should be remembered, but Khonsu agreed that this should be a day of remembrance of the power that Egypt has. Even far from home, its power is immense, and so are its gods. Reluctantly, the Prince of Begtane agreed, but he was grateful that his daughter was returned and the evil had been vanquished. But he wasn't going to let this powerful statue leave. And after many days of arguments with the physician and the magicians, they returned to Egypt empty-handed. Now, of course, that was possibly a bad move, as the prince was about to find out. For he began to experience nights of turmoil, bad dreams, a gnawing doubt of his own capabilities. He feared that the demon would come back, but for him instead. He went to beg in front of the statue of Khonsu to have the same favour bestowed upon him as his daughter. But he had something else to worry about instead. For the spirit of Khonsu erupted again from the statue and stood before the prince and said, "You have insulted Egypt by not returning the statue back to its rightful place. For that, you will have no favour of Khonsu." the spirit faded and the statue disintegrated. And his last words on the breeze was, "I give, this city shall fall." And so it did. For Egypt's power can be given and taken away. Quite a nice little one, that.